Hey everyone, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Zoom virtual backgrounds. Now, first things first, you can toggle virtual backgrounds on and off for you and for your students slash meeting attendees here. And before we progress into actually how to enable backgrounds, I do want to say that I think there are some good reasons for allowing students to use backgrounds and also for you to use a background. If you use a background, students use backgrounds, it can really liven up a meeting. It could add some personality, and there are just so many resources for creating and using your own background. So Canva has a really if you've never used it, it's a free image editing program, and they have just so many, not just backgrounds, but really funny backgrounds templates that you can then also kind of customize. If you click use this template, it'll take you to the image editing software. And there is actually on this page link to the tutorials for Canva as well. But if you never use it, it's very, very easy to use. So there is that resource. And then if you Google Zoom virtual background, basically any high resolution image will work. So this is from the great folks at Nerdist. I just Googled Star Trek backgrounds, and you can see any of these are usable. If you've been in a meeting with me, you've probably seen me use a couple of these backgrounds. I don't know if it's smart for them to have Star Wars so close to Star Trek. Normally those fan bases don't get along, and I hope that doesn't create any kind of nerd gang wars or anything. But just so many great backgrounds available, and it's so it can really just add a little bit of personality to the room. And then and I'll demonstrate this in a second, but I think also for students, we're encouraging students to use videos in the classes, right? FSW is an institution, but again, we can't require students to do that. And one way that you can make students feel a little bit more comfortable is if you enable these backgrounds. Not only does it let them add more personality, it also lets them hide the background. And as a parent, I've really appreciated that. If you've been in a meeting with me, you know that I use Zoom backgrounds a lot, and that's because I'll show you. I'll model this in a bit, but I have a lot of parent clutter in my office because my wife's a first grade teacher, so she has been teaching from home since the spring, and my kids will sometimes pop in and out of meeting rooms. And I like having, that kind of virtual wall. I guess sometimes it probably freaks out attendees because my children will pop in a virtual background out of nowhere. But I really appreciate that, and I really don't have to, be too concerned about the environment around me because it's obscured. And that's true for your students too. Maybe, you don't know their situations. Maybe they could have a number of reasons for why they don't want to reveal their background, based all the way from they don't want to share their, they don't want to clean up the background to maybe they have some privacy concerns about kids being shown or just their environment being shown. You don't know, right? And I think this is a smart way to let them have a little bit more authority and privacy, and I think it's all to the good there. You can, of course, right? And I would actually recommend this, and this is noted earlier in the training, or later on in the training, sorry. But I would definitely have a syllabus policy about the type of virtual backgrounds that, may not be acceptable. Just make sure they're not doing anything that's like offensive to groups of people, that sort of thing. So that's my little riff about virtual backgrounds. And I'm going to step down off my soapbox and we're talking about the technicals here. So this is one of the things that the desktop client, right? The app, if you have an app on your desktop or on your smart device, they actually work much better for virtual backgrounds because you can preload them. So the way you do this here is you click on your little profile guy or person, right? Sorry. And you hit settings, brings up these options. You click virtual background, and now you're going to see my parent clutter in the office behind me. Right. And this is normally what I like to hide. So I do have other angles I could use, but I think this is a good example of, you're on my desk right now. The computer's on my desk, and just what's behind me. And so you can see all my wife's first grade stuff, all right up to her buddy. This is Maxwell, that she uses to teach reading. Right? Hi, everyone. Maybe I'll have him do the rest of the talk. But so in general, I like to hide that kind of stuff. And that's when I would use a background. But if you're looking at this screen reader, one thing you're going to notice is my computer actually does not have a good enough camera, a camera that's adequate enough. You don't need a green screen. It helps. But you'll see that, I'm kind of fading in and out of the background. And so I actually do not use my computer whenever I generate a virtual background. Some of you are saying, what? then why do you always have a virtual background on? If you're on a meeting with me, if you've never been in a meeting with me, you might just say what, right, without the follow-up comment. And so here's what I do. You can create a virtual background with any camera that has, an adequate resolution. My computer is a bit old, so it still runs well, but the camera is not that advanced. So I actually can't project a virtual background with it. So at my office at school on campus, I have dual monitors, and that's something that I really miss. I take a lot of notes for meetings. I just tend to end up in that role, and so I like to have two monitors, one with the person speaking and another where I'm taking notes or opening resources that people are referring to. And so my workaround, and this is also how I generally use my virtual backgrounds, is if I know I'm not going to screen share, or even if folks are okay with it, and I'm still going to be the note taker, for example, and I want that dual screen capability, sometimes I'll come into the meeting, leave and come into the meeting if I need to screen share something. I will usually have my phone right up behind me, and I will use that as like a de facto second monitor. Again, that's not always going to be available for like a student, for example, but I'll show you in a minute how effective the phone is for the green screen. So if you're in that situation, it's something you can do. And you can see that Zoom already has a number of preloaded backgrounds, and it's very easy to add them. You just hit add image, and then you add it. And if your screen resolution is good enough, you can do that. You could also, if you wanted to get a green screen, my camera would probably work if I did that. But since I have the workaround, it's just not something that I do. So again, that's very easy through the desktop client. If you're using the Zoom in a browser, you're going to change it in meeting. So I'm going to pause this real quick, and I'm going to jump back with you in a meeting just to run through what that looks like. Okay, everyone. So now I'm back, and you can see that on my left is the video with the background that has the Star Wars playing in the back, and that is, you can see the difference, right? And this camera, and this is my phone's camera, works well enough to track me no matter how it works. In fact, sometimes I've had to do something during the meeting. I will pick up my phone and walk around the room with it, and no one will be able to see my background. So I think that's kind of useful. It may be a little limited, of course, if you're teaching, but if you're in a meeting, web conference with students, or you choose to do your office hours, I think that can be sort of a useful thing. Again, these are just, I think the goal of this training really is to give you a myriad of tools, and then you can do what works best for you. So I'm just going to show you how to turn on your video or get to your virtual background. You just click this little up arrow here next to the camera and choose virtual background, and it gives you the same choices. So that's how you do it if you don't have the desktop client and you want to do it through the browser. And that's really it. That's all that I have, and I hope this has been useful and informative to you. Thank you.